Welcome back to the I Don't Want a Divorce podcast. Today's topic, what I did that did help after I left my narcissist, part 2. Now, these are the words of actual spouses who have left their abusers. We got a ton of great responses as part of a contest we did a month or 2 ago. If you're living with an abusive spouse, or think you are, you can do a phone advice session with me. It's all explained on my website, davideclarkephd.com. That's Clarke with an E. On the website, you'll find all my resources for marriages in crisis, my books, this podcast, my YouTube channel, my focus on the family, video interviews. Okay, let's do today's topic. This is, again, what did help after I left my narcissist. I let him create a new false identity in his new church. And that's exactly what a narcissistic abuser will do. They will find a new church, or frankly, you'll have to leave your church, but in this case, he left. He'll find a new church and he'll fool every single person in that church. What she's saying is, whatever, don't care. She says he is charming these new church people. You know he is, but whatever, I just live my life. Exactly. You can't follow him around and warn the people he's fooling. Not your problem. They'll figure him out maybe in time. If they don't, it's okay. And even if you tried to follow up and talk to the pastor or some of the people in the new church, which I don't recommend doing, they would think you're lying. He's already won them over. Don't bother. They won't believe you. Next, something that helped this lady. I look at my abuser now as a broken person, not someone who can break me anymore. I like that. By getting out, this is my comment to her, by getting out, you've saved yourself. He'll still try to hurt you, okay, no question about that, but he can't break you. If you stay, he'll break you. If you're a woman that's being abused by a man, if you stay with him, that's when you get broken and your kids get broken. Next one is here. Once news of the divorce got out, I was surprised at how many abused wives reached out to me for help. This is exactly what happens. It's part of God's plan. It has been healing, she says, to listen to their stories and point them in the right direction for help. I'll bet it has. That's part of how God uses stress and crisis in our lives. I've given out several copies of your book, Enough is Enough. Well, thank you for that. And 20 Lies That Keep You with Your Abuser. Boy, that's great. These are why I wrote these books, to help women and men escape from an abuser. And my comment to her is, God, and all those of you who have gotten away from an abuser, God will use you and what you've gone through to help other abused spouses. You won't have to go looking for them. God will draw them to you. This is all part of the healing process. Next point, I stuck to the court orders. This is an important one. I stuck to the court orders and made no exceptions. This is good. You've got to be rigid with a narcissist and an abuser. Whatever the court rules after the divorce, that's what you stick to. And you don't make exceptions, because if you make an exception, it's seen as weakness and it'll be taken advantage of. With a normal, reasonable spouse and you get divorced, which is a shame, different story. You can work with a person like that, not with a narcissist. Don't make exceptions. Next one, I used a parenting app. Here's a good, many of you probably are aware of this. I used a parenting app to communicate with him. Everything is recorded. Oh, I like that. And he knows that, so he's going to have to be careful. Beautiful, I say. You can communicate with them any way you choose. And some of these apps, many courts will actually require, and your attorney can guide you in this area, and so you're limited to that situation. And if it's recorded, beautiful. Next, when he sent me a message, I would, if it wasn't an emergency, not respond right away. Exactly. Don't get right back to your narcissist. Who cares? You're divorced. Let him wait. This gave me more control, she says. Yeah, let him wait and sweat it out. You don't really care. You get back to him on your own terms. Next, when we have custody exchanges, which of course with kids you're going to have, I never speak to him. Beautiful. Very often the narcissist, the abuser, wants to use these custody exchanges, which of course are in person, to lay into you and ask you questions and make your life difficult. The deal is, I'm not talking to you during these exchanges. Feel free to talk. All right, talk to the hand. I'm not going to respond. Never talk in person with a narcissist, never on the phone. This is somebody that you've divorced. He's lost that privilege. You don't have to communicate in those ways. When he tries to engage you, ignore him. It can only be by text or email. That's it. Nothing wrong with that. No court's going to make you talk to him in person or on the phone. 28. This is the next, actually the 28th good idea. I keep my expectations super low. Very good. I expect him to be nasty, condescending, and abusive. Good. That's what he's going to be. So I'm not disappointed or hurt, she says. Yeah, very good point. With an abuser, the only expectation should be negative expectations. Expect the worst. Next one. In my responses to him, I only responded when necessary and used the fewest words possible. Excellent. Never go outside what you have to address. I tried to stick to yes or no. Perfect. Give him nothing to work with. That's my comment. Give him nothing to work with. He'll bring up a lot of extraneous issues and charges and problems and questions and rants. Ignore all that and just get to what actually needs to be answered. If he's not really asking a question or if it's not serving any purpose, ignore him. No response. Here's a good one. I changed my phone number so he was forced to only email me. Yeah, very good. Another good idea. Next, after the divorce was final, he kept emailing me, trying to convince me he was my friend. Yeah, very often they'll do this. I did not respond. Eventually, he gave up. Okay, just right. Don't even bother. This is not your friend. You want to get along with as much as you can, but you don't have to be his pal. No response is often the best response. He only wants to be your friend to look good, part of the narrative. I reached out to her. She wouldn't respond. He may have some crazy idea that he's going to get you back. You don't want that. You're done. Next, my response was consistent no matter what ugly things he said. And this is what she says. Ignore. Yeah, don't even respond. Refuse to take the bait. Narcissists are continually trying to set you up and suck you in. Do not engage in his craziness. Remember who he is, and then he is never going to have your best interest at heart. Exactly. And then she adds, keep reading the Bible and useful authors like you. Well, that's very kind. I hope I'm useful. Here's one that goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. A lady said, time with Jesus every day. Well, of course, always a great idea. You're going to go through this with Jesus. Next one, this lady was involved in a weekly Bible study. The Word of God and supportive women really helped me in the aftermath of a divorce. Yes, by all means. The Bible being taught, as well as the support from the group of ladies, man, big time important. Next, after reading the How to Spot a Loser chapter in the I Didn't Want to Divorce Now What book, and of course I have a divorce recovery book, you'll be shocked to know. I think it's a good one to help you recover. All right, but she's mentioning in terms of maybe dating again and remarrying, How to Spot a Loser chapter. After reading that, I realized I was dating a loser. I broke up with him immediately. Very good. Good for you. No more losers. One loser is enough. And I talk to many ladies who, because they don't get into recovery after divorcing a narcissist, they'll get into a relationship with another one. And maybe even marry him. You don't want to do that. All right? You just have to get out again, which God will be okay with, but you don't want to do that. Get the I Didn't Want to Divorce Now What book and get into your recovery. Next, I finally got angry and pushed back when I realized he was willing to hurt our children to get back at me. Oh, by all means, he's willing to hurt the kids. He could care less about the kids. They always act like father of the year for a while after the divorce just to make you look bad and to try to win the kids over. But you know what? He'll hurt them to get at you. Absolutely, he will. A narcissist will use the kids as pawns to do damage to you. When the kids act out and mess up their lives, guess whose fault that's going to be? Yours. He'll blame you, even though he's created it. Here's a good one. Getting a custody agreement in place was critical. It is. Before this, he would come and take the children when he wanted and drop them off when he wanted, at the worst possible times. You want an ironclad, extremely specific custody agreement. That's what your attorney is for. Here's one. I poured my heart out in prayer, sometimes screaming, often crying, sometimes groaning because no words would come. Boy, yeah, that's exactly, like David in the Psalms, pour it out. It's good to be raw and visceral with God, gut level stuff. God is with you and he'll come through for you. He will. Here's what I like. I took care of myself physically. Living with a narcissist and an abuser rips you to pieces physically. Your health will always improve when you get away from him. But it's time now to kind of get yourself back on track physically. This lady says, I had a better diet. I got into an exercise program. I lost weight. I felt stronger, more confident. I had more energy. Yes, all good. Your physical condition is important. Here's one. I saw my doctor and got on antidepressants for 6 to 8 months. Yeah, not a bad idea. Not everyone will need medication, of course, but it's perfectly fine if you do. No worries. God has no problem with that. If you and your depression and anxiety are causing your functioning to go down and making it hard to think, see your family doc and get on some antidepressant medications. Next, I worked hard on forgiveness. Very important. And this, I have a whole section, several chapters in this I Didn't Want a Divorce Now book on forgiveness. You're going to have to forgive him. It's not reconciliation forgiveness. That's done. But it's release forgiveness. Next, I embrace the feeling of being free. Everything looks so much brighter. See, here's what you can look forward to. Everything looks so much brighter. I could enjoy the sky, trees, flowers, birds, the simple things. Everything came alive again, including me. Yes, beautifully said. The freedom this lady is talking about is worth the battle to achieve it, and it will be a battle. Finally, here's one. Becoming financially independent again gave me freedom and control. Regardless of the divorce settlement, I can support myself and my children. This is important. That's why in Enough is Enough, I go into detail on how to support yourself, how to get yourself an income so that you're going to be safe and secure. Very important. I mean, get the best divorce deal you possibly can, but be able to support yourself and your kids. Now, if you like what I'm doing in this podcast and the team here, and part of the team is Dugas Creative, you need a new website, you need a website redesign, you need social media help in the digital age, check out Dugas Creative, D-U-G-A-S. But if you like what we're doing in this podcast, subscribe to this podcast, leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Now, next week, I return to my podcast series based on my latest book, 20 Lies That Keep You with Your Abuser. We're going back to covering that material. All right? I will talk to you, and you'll see me, if of course you're seeing this video, next week.